And one other topic that Mandeville touches on is the matter of religion. It is part of his general inquiry. So we can't forget religion if we're asking ourselves where moral virtue comes from. If we left religion out of it, we wouldn't be giving an answer that applied to human beings as we normally and almost always are. But religion belongs somewhat as an explanation for the origin of moral virtue, belongs with reason, as a contrary explanation, not Mandeville's own, but a more traditional one that other people use. But by this view, our real nature is not what you would discover by going back to our earliest existence before there was anything we could call civilization. That's not our real nature. Our real nature, on this other view, not Mandeville's, is that we're truly the creatures of God. We owe ourselves to God. We belong to God, and that's what we really are. And to imagine ourselves as some sort of semi-animals before civilization got going in any appreciable way wouldn't be to look to what we are, but to some diminished thing, not the true us. And from this point of view, shouldn't we say that while we have some kind of animal existence that we might call nature, the thing that saves us for virtue and makes us fit for community life is religion. And so that's what solves the basic problem that Mandeville is dealing with. Not Mandeville's own solution, but religion is the solution. And then one could think that religion and reason go together. Perhaps it's religion that makes us listen to reason rather than other impulses. Or you could split religion and reason apart. That's an old dispute. We don't have to go into it because it's only a dispute between the people who disagree with Mandeville, and so not our primary business this morning. Mandeville is very delicate about dealing with religion. He's already been presented, because of this text is so brought before a court of law, because he seems to be writing immoral things. He wants to be careful, and his way of handling this is to say that there was religion before the current one of my own country, before Christianity. And this is inescapable. It's part of the Christian stories that the Roman Empire already existed when Jesus came along. So there was a prehistory to religion before, from the point of view of Mandeville's country, before we got the real thing. And Mandeville says that Roman religion was not intellectually sophisticated as ours. It wasn't actually pointed toward making people good. Did more to justify people's badness, to dignify it than to make people good. And this is true of the old pagan and Greek religions. Many stories about the love affairs of the king of the gods, and stories about how Jove, the great Roman god, how he fooled his wife when he wanted to have an affair with some beautiful mortal. That this doesn't seem like a moral religion. So Mandeville certainly can appeal to religious believers of his day. Right? We have the true religion, and therefore we do not have to respect it. It's a gain for our religion to point out the flaws of earlier religions. But then Mandeville is also correct that whatever made civilization possible, it must have already been in operation before Jesus came along, because Jesus came under the Roman Empire, which was a very impressive community, more unified and stronger than the Europe of Mandeville's day. It's all divided up into factions fighting about religion. They didn't have that problem in the same way under the Romans. Fighting about religion, I should say. They didn't have that problem under the Romans. So whatever made human beings sociable allowed them enough virtue to live together. It doesn't require what people would think of as the true religion. And in fact, the older religions don't seem to be helpful this way. We must have gotten this from somewhere else. And Mandeville's view was that the Romans were geniuses at flattering people and manipulating their pride. So making them value the respect they get for winning a military victory over their natural fear of taking risks in war. And it's not because Romans had religion that they made people into citizens and sociable people who could live together in community, but because they were good at flattering people. And so Mandeville ends in the last paragraph by being able to pay tribute to Christianity. He can say the great thing about Christianity is that it is intellectually respectable. It really does point us to what makes one truly virtuous. So it's part of what makes human beings better. But it is not part of the explanation. How did we get from our original condition where we weren't the sort of creatures that could live together in community to being able to do that, to live in community? And Christianity is not the part, because that had already happened. There were already great and impressive communities before Jesus. And so whatever the goodness of Christianity, it's not responsible for that. And that allows him to go back to first principles in the second to last paragraph here at the end, on page 18. So he suggests there may be a few people who are truly virtuous. They do what's good just for the sake of it being good. They don't care who sees them, who knows it. They just want the thing itself. They're not looking for any reward. They're doing what's virtuous as an end in itself. Mandeville says in the middle of this second to last paragraph, yet even in these, and the world was never swarmed with them, right? So even these virtuous people, there have never been a whole lot of them. We may discover considerable symptoms of pride. Everybody's strongest passion in some way is their pride. The humblest man, so the lowest, the simplest, and the least ambitious, the least assuming, the humblest man alive must confess that the reward of a virtuous action, namely the satisfaction that it brings, consists in a certain pleasure he gets for himself by contemplating his own worth. So, virtue gives you a reward. True virtue has to be without reward. And that's what makes it virtuous. You do a good thing because it's good and you don't get anything out of it. But fortunately for human beings, there is a great reward that comes along with human beings. And that's fortunate because the reward means that we actually do it. But then the reward makes it not fundamentally virtuous, because things you do for rewards are not virtuous things. They're selfish things. But fortunately, we have this part in our character that we can direct our selfish impulses toward common goods. And this pleasure, reading the end of the paragraph, together with the cause of it, are signs of pride, as certain as pallor and trembling in the face of danger are signs of fear. So we can see on the outside that it's pride that makes us into citizens. Reason and religion and the possibility of true virtue, they can make their claim. But Mandeville likes his explanation. Virtue comes from pride. One passion rules the others. It's not true virtue, but it is as helpful as true virtue would be. Mandeville likes that explanation best, and he sticks with it.